Milo looked out the window of the landing ship as it moved through the blue clouds of Naraya. The planet below was full of tall green trees and shining rivers. It was the most beautiful place he had ever seen. This was not a war mission. This was a mission of peace. He was an engineer, not a soldier. His job was to help the Nerians fix a broken energy tower. It was part of the new peace deal between humans and the alien world. After years of fear, both sides had agreed to open a path of friendship. Milo was one of 5 humans sent to Naraya. Alongside him was Lena, a translator and language expert. The others were scientists and technicians. They had been trained to respect Nerian customs and not touch anything without permission. When they landed, a group of tall alien guards stood, waiting. They had smooth silver skin and large blue eyes. Their clothes were made of soft glowing fabric. At the front stood Queen Vera, ruler of Naraya. Her long robes floated around her feet like mist. Her face was calm but serious. Beside her was her daughter, Princess Tari. She looked young and curious, her eyes wide as she studied the humans. She did not speak but nodded in greeting. Lena bowed and translated for the group. Milo followed with a quiet smile. The queen welcomed them and led them through the bright halls of her sky palace. Everywhere, lights moved through the air like floating dust. The walls pulsed softly with energy. The energy tower was located in a nearby mountain. It gave power to many parts of the planet. Something inside it had stopped working. The Nerian builders could not fix it alone, so they had asked for help. Milo and the team worked carefully, guided by Nerian technicians. They used small tools and thin scanners. The tower was made from crystal and light cables, unlike anything on Earth. Tari watched silently most of the time. Once, she asked a question about one of Milo's tools. He showed her how it worked, and she smiled. It was a small moment, but Milo remembered it. Then the shaking began. At first, it was soft, just a low hum under the floor. But soon, the whole tower shook hard. Alarms rang out. The lights flickered. The walls cracked in sharp lines. The ground opened in places, and dust flew into the air. Quake shouted one of the Nerian guards. "Get out!" Milo grabbed his bag and reached for the nearest Nerian, pulling them away from a falling stone. People ran. The quake grew stronger. The entrance collapsed. Tari screamed. A large chunk of the wall fell between her and the others. She was trapped on the other side. Milo ran toward her, but the floor split. He fell through the crack and hit something hard. Everything went dark. When he woke up, it was quiet. Dust filled the air. Milo coughed and sat up slowly. His arm hurt, but nothing seemed broken. He turned on his small light and looked around. The space was tight. He was deep under the tower. "Hello," he called out. "Is anyone here?" He waited. Then he heard it, a soft voice, calling back. It was weak, but clear. "I'm here." It was Tari. Milo moved toward the voice. After climbing over broken stone, he found her. She was sitting on the ground, her leg caught under a beam. Her face was pale, but her eyes were open. Milo knelt beside her. "I'll help you," he said gently. He used his tools to cut through the beam. It took time. He spoke calmly while he worked. He told her stories about Earth to keep her mind off the pain. She listened, breathing slowly. When the beam finally moved, Milo helped her up. She could not walk well, so he made a support from his bag and some wires. Together, they moved deeper into the tunnel, trying to find a way out. Above them, the queen stood outside the ruined tower. Her face was hard to read, but her eyes were full of pain. The guards had searched. The human team had escaped. But Tari and one human, Milo, were still missing. The queen waited for 2 more days. Then she spoke to her people. "The tower has fallen. My daughter was brave. She is gone. But we will honor her by keeping peace." The other humans were silent. They had not seen what happened below. Milo was not with them. They offered help. But the queen raised her hand. "Your help was true. This was not your fault. You may go home with our thanks." So the humans left. The ship lifted off and returned to space. The Earth leaders gave their respects. The news called it a sad day. But Milo and Tari were still alive, deep underground, in the dark. They moved slowly, step by step, helping each other. They did not know how long they would be down there. They only knew one thing. They were not giving up. The air was cold and heavy. Dust floated in every corner. Strange sounds echoed through the deep stone walls. Milo and Tari moved slowly. Their steps soft but steady. Tari leaned on Milo's shoulder. Her legs still hurt, and her body was tired. But she kept going. Milo held a small light in one hand and helped her walk with the other. Every few steps, they stopped to rest. Milo looked at the broken walls around them. These were not natural caves. The stones had strange lines carved into them. Some glowed faintly. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. I think we are inside something old, Milo said. This place feels forgotten. Tari nodded slowly. Her voice was quiet but sure. These walls were not made by my people. I have seen drawings of them in old books. They are from before the queen's line began. Milo looked at her with interest. Before your queen? That must be very old. Yes, she said. No one goes this deep. It is said that these tunnels were built by the Star Ones. They left long ago. Milo looked around again. Maybe we can find a way out through their tunnels. They walked in silence for a while. The light from Milo's small tool barely reached. The ceiling, on the walls, old symbols shine like stars. The air was strange but not harmful. It was almost like the place had its own breath. Tari stopped at a stone door. She reached out and touched a mark on it. The mark glowed brighter under her hand. The door opened with a soft hum. Behind it was a wide chamber filled with glowing roots. The roots hung from the ceiling and twisted around the floor. They pulsed with blue and green light. Small orbs of energy floated between them. Milo stepped forward slowly. What is this place? Tari smiled. Just a little life chamber. This is where the Star Ones stored power. My people learned from these places long ago, but we never found one this deep. Milo looked at the roots with wonder. He pulled out a small scanner from his bag. The reading showed strong energy. Maybe they could use it. If we can connect this to my beacon, maybe we can send a signal. He said. I nodded. We must try. They set up a small camp in the chamber. Milo gave Tari some dried food from his pack. She shared water from a container in her belt. They sat close to the roots for warmth. The light made the chamber feel like home for a little while. Milo worked on his beacon. It was a small cube with antennas and blinking lights. It needed power, and the glowing roots gave just enough. While he worked, Tari told him stories. She spoke of her mother, Queen Vera, who ruled with kindness but also great strength. She spoke of learning to fly small skyboats and of her dreams to visit other worlds. Milo smiled as he listened. You sound like someone who wants to explore everything. Tari looked at him. I wanted to meet humans. I asked to join the tower visit. Many still fear your people, but I was not afraid. Milo paused. What do you think now? After all this, Tari was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You stayed. You helped me. I did not fear you. I respect you. Milo looked down, a little shy. I'm just doing what feels right. You do the same for me. The beacon blinked twice. The signal was ready. Milo pressed the button. A low hum filled the chamber. The lights of the beacon turned green. Somewhere above them, a signal shot upward. Now we wait, he said. They waited for many hours. They took turns resting. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just listened to the hum of the glowing roots. Time moved slowly. Milo began to feel like he knew Tari well, even though they had just met. She was quiet but brave. She asked smart questions. She had a kind heart, but also strong will. Tari had started to trust Milo too. He was not loud or proud. He was gentle, and he listened. He did not treat her like a princess. He treated her like a person. Suddenly, a soft sound came from the far side of the chamber. A breeze moved through the roots. A wall of light flickered. Behind it, a new path opened. Milo stood up quickly. Maybe someone heard the signal. Tari smiled. Or maybe the Star Ones left us this path. Either way, it was a way forward. They gathered their things and stepped through the new path. The tunnel beyond was smoother, more complete. Strange lights floated above, guiding the way. The walls had more symbols, now brighter and more clear. They followed the tunnel for a long time, moving slowly but with hope. They did not know if the signal had reached anyone, but they knew they were not trapped anymore. Something had changed. They were no longer just lost. They were walking towards something new, together. Milo walked slowly, watching every step. The tunnel ahead glowed with soft green lights that floated just above the ground. Tari walked beside him, using a stick Milo had shaped from a broken pipe. Her leg was healing, but still weak. Even so, she kept moving. The tunnel was warm and quiet. It was wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side. Strange shapes covered the walls. Some looked like stars, others like long rivers. Milo touched one of the glowing lines on the wall. It felt smooth, like glass. He pulled out his small scanner and watched the screen. There's power inside these walls, he said. Tari nodded. The Star Ones used light for everything. They had no wires like you. They moved energy through stone and air. Milo smiled. We're only starting to do that back on Earth. Your stories about the Star Ones feel like science and magic together. They kept walking. After an hour, they reached a round room. In the center stood a tall stone pillar. On top of it was a blue crystal, glowing like fire trapped in ice. Milo stepped closer. Do you think this does something? Tari looked around the room. It could be a control stone. Some crystals are doors. Some are maps. Try touching it gently. Milo placed his hand on the crystal. It warmed under his touch. A soft sound filled the room, like wind blowing through leaves. Then the walls changed. The shapes on the wall began to move. Lines joined into circles. Circles turned into paths. One glowing path moved forward and turned sharply up, showing a tunnel that led to the surface. The crystal had shown them a way out. Milo stepped back. It's a map. That path must lead outside. Tari smiled for the first time in days. We are close. Before they left the chamber, Milo turned back to look at the glowing wall. It's strange to think these tunnels were made so long ago, and now they're helping us survive. Maybe the Star Ones wanted someone to find them again. Tari said, maybe this place waited for us. They followed the new path. It was steep at times. The walls became darker, but the lights above stayed with them. Milo used his tool to draw simple marks along the way, just in case they had to turn back. Hours passed. They moved slowly, but stayed hopeful. The air began to feel cooler and fresher. Milo smiled. We're getting close. I can feel it then. Up ahead, they saw something strange. A door. It was made of thick metal, with a round handle in the middle. On the side, a panel blinked with soft blue lights. It did not look like the Star One's design. It looked more like something new. Milo stepped forward and placed his hand near the panel. It beeped and scanned his fingers. Then, to his surprise, it spoke. Human signature confirmed. Emergency exit unlocked. The door slid open. Behind it was a small room with stairs. At the top of the stairs was a heavy steel hatch. Light poured through its sides. Milo and Tari climbed slowly. At the top, Milo turned the hatch wheel and pushed it open. They stepped into the sunlight. The sky above was blue and wide. Trees stood tall around them. Birds flew across the sky. The warm sun touched their faces. Tari closed her eyes and took a deep breath. We made it. Milo looked around. They were at the edge of a forest, just below the mountain. The energy tower was far behind them, hidden by trees. Milo pulled out the beacon from his bag. It was still working. He pressed the signal button again, this time with open air to help it reach far. Now we wait, he said. A few hours passed. They found a safe spot near a tall rock and sat down. Milo checked his tools. Tari rested her leg. They watched the sky together. Then they heard it, a soft hum in the distance. Tari looked up. A ship from between the trees, a small Nurine scout ship, appeared. It moved slowly, scanning the area. Milo stood up and waved. Tari raised her hand to The ship landed nearby. 2 Nurine guards stepped out, their eyes wide. One of them, Toma, ran toward them. He stopped when he saw Tari. Princess, he said. His voice trembled. Tari nodded. I am alive. Thanks to him. Toma looked at Milo. He said nothing at first, then gave a slow bow. Come, he said. "The queen must see you." Milo helped Tari into the ship. The guards gave her a soft blanket and water. Milo sat beside her, still covered in dust and scratches. The ship lifted off. Below them, the forest faded into the distance. Ahead was the Sky Palace, shining in the evening sun. Tiara looked out the window. Her face was calm. "My mother believes I am lost. She will not be ready for this." Milo nodded. "Then we'll show her, together." Queen Vera stood on the high balcony of the Sky Palace. Below her, the people of Naraya were gathered in silence. The sun was setting, and its golden light touched every roof, every tree, and every face. But to the queen, the world felt cold and still. It had been 7 days since the tower had fallen, 7 days since her daughter, Princess Tari, had vanished under stone and dust. She had waited. She had searched. Her guards had gone through every tunnel, every crack, every chamber they could reach. They found broken beams and twisted floors, but no sign of life, no body, no voice. Just silence. Now, Queen Vera stood tall in her dark robe. A black crystal hung around her neck, glowing faintly. It was a symbol of her daughter's spirit, worn only during the time of mourning. Her face showed no tears, but her hands were tight and still. A soft wind moved through the air. The queen raised her hand and the crowd fell to their knees. "My daughter was the light of our future," she said. Her voice was strong, but each word felt heavy. She believed in peace. She trusted the stars. She welcomed those not born of Naraya with open heart. She is gone, but her dream will stay. The people bowed their heads. Many wiped their eyes. Some whispered her name. Toma, the royal guard, stood at the side of the queen. He had led the search and returned empty-handed. He had known the princess since she was a child. He wanted to believe she was still alive, but hope was no longer welcome in the queen's eyes. Later that evening, the queen sat alone in the silent hall of thought. Long windows showed the sky turning from gold to deep blue. Stars began to appear. She looked at the stars without smiling. Lena, the human translator, entered quietly. She carried a small gift from Earth, a silver pendant with the symbol of peace between their two worlds. She held it in her hand, waiting for permission to speak. Queen Vera looked at her. "Why are you here?" Lena stepped forward. "To honor the princess, and to say thank you. Your people welcomed us. We are truly sorry for the loss." The queen gave a small nod. "The mission was not your fault. The quake came from the mountain. It was no one's doing." She turned her eyes back to the stars. "But it has changed everything." Lena looked at her for a moment. Then she said, "When I first met Tari, she said something I'll never forget. She said peace only works if both sides take the first step." The queen closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them again. She always wanted to walk forward, even when others were afraid. Lena bowed and left the hall in silence. That night, the queen visited the Garden of Memory. It was where the names of the lost were written in light across the walls. She stepped to the center and touched the stone screen. A soft glow appeared, and Tari's name was added. Toma stood at the edge of the garden, watching from a distance. He did not move. He had always obeyed the queen's commands, but his heart told him something was not right. Something inside him still believed. The next morning, a quiet alarm sounded in the palace. A message had reached the sky towers. A beacon had been found, far from the tower ruins, near the edge of the forest. It had sent one signal, then another, and another. It was human-made. Toma read the report, and his hands began to shake. He rushed to the queen's chamber and entered without waiting. She looked up, surprised. Toma bowed quickly and held out the report. "A signal has been found from the forest. A beacon used by the missing engineer." Milo, the queen, stared at the page. Her eyes read the words twice. "Do you think he survived?" she asked. Toma spoke carefully. "Yes, my queen. I think he survived, and I think he is not alone." The queen stood. Her hand touched the black crystal around her neck. It pulsed faintly, like it had heard the news too. "Prepare a scout ship," she said. "Bring them to me if they live, and speak to no one." Not yet. Toma bowed and rushed out. The scout ship flew low and fast. It followed the signal through the trees. When it reached the landing spot, it slowed and hovered. The guards stepped out. Then they saw them. A human, an Yen, tired, covered in dust, but alive. Tari leaned on Milo's shoulder, standing with pride. Her eyes were tired but full of calm. Milo held the beacon in one hand and raised his other hand slowly. Toma stepped forward. He stared at Tari for a long moment. Then he fell to one knee. Princess, she gave a small smile. You always bow too much. Toma laughed softly and helped her into the ship. Milo followed, quiet but alert. He had stayed close to her every step, and now he was walking into the Sky Palace with her, toward a queen who thought her daughter was gone. Back at the palace, Queen Vera waited. She stood once more on the balcony, the black crystal still around her neck. The scout ship landed in the wide court. The doors opened. The queen watched as Milo stepped out. Then Tari appeared behind him, leaning on his arm. The queen did not move. The black crystal around her neck began to glow brighter. Tari stepped forward. I'm home, she said. All eyes were on the two figures walking across the stone path. The sun had climbed high, and its light made the white floor shine. Guards stood in perfect rows. Servants and scholars stood behind them. No one made a sound. Milo walked slowly, steady and careful. His clothes were torn in places, his face marked by dust and days of travel. He did not look strong or proud. He looked calm. Beside him walked Tari. Her step was not quick, but her head was high. A soft robe had been placed around her shoulders. On the ship, her hair was tied back, and her eyes were bright. She walked with the help of Milo's arm. But it was clear to everyone. The princess had returned. Queen Vera stood at the end of the court, still and tall. She said nothing. Her face showed no tears, no smile. But her eyes were fixed on her daughter. When Milo and Tari stopped before her, the court waited for her word. The queen stepped down from the platform. Slowly, each step quiet. She stopped just in front of Tari. They were almost the same height, mother and daughter. To rulers, two hearts. I spoke first. Her voice was soft, but it carried across the court. I did not die. I was lost, but I was not alone. This human, Milo, stayed with me. He helped me survive. He showed me respect. He gave me hope when I had none. The queen looked at Milo. Her eyes searched his face. Milo spoke carefully. I did what anyone should do. I only wanted to help. The queen raised her hand, slowly. She touched the black crystal around her neck. It stopped glowing. Then she removed it and placed it in Tari's hand. You were never gone from my heart, the queen said. But now I see you again with my eyes. She turned to Milo. And you, human, you carried my daughter through the dark. You gave her your strength. For this, I give you my thanks. She bowed her head. Gasps filled the court. The queen never bowed to outsiders. Never. But this time, she did. Milo lowered his head too, not out of fear, but out of respect. Tari smiled. She took the black crystal and held it high. I return not only with life, she said. I return with a bond. A bond between our people. The court began to whisper. The news would spread fast. The queen turned to the crowd. Her voice rose with command. Let the sky know. Let the stars know. The princess is alive, and peace between our worlds grows stronger. Let this day be remembered not as a day of mourning, but a day of return. The people bowed low. Some had tears in their eyes. Others held their hands over their hearts. It was a moment they would remember forever. Later, in the quiet garden, Milo and Tari sat on a stone bench. The air was cool, and the flowers gave off a sweet scent. Water flowed gently through the small river beside them. Milo looked up at the tall sky trees. This place is peaceful, he said. Tari nodded. I came here as a child. I would sit right here and dream of other planets. You were always meant to meet us, Milo said. Tari looked at him. And you were always meant to stay. Milo blinked. Stay. Yes, she said. You did not have to return to Earth. You have a place here now. If you want it. Milo thought for a moment. I came here to fix a tower. But I found something more important than machines. I found people I respect. And someone I trust. Tari smiled. Then your place is here, if you choose it just then. Tome arrived with a small device in his hand. He bowed and handed it to Milo, a gift from the Queen. Toma said, "It holds the recording of your journey, the map you found, the energy chamber. The story will be remembered." She calls it the Path of Light. Milo took the device with care. "Thank you, Toma." Toma nodded. "You brought her back. That means everything." He turned and left. Milo looked at the small device in his hands. So much happened in just a few days. It feels like months. Tari laughed gently. Sometimes deep moments feel longer than time. You changed more than a tower, Milo. You helped change hearts. Milo looked at her and smiled. And you gave me a reason to keep walking. Even when I thought I was lost, they sat in silence for a while. Not an empty silence, a warm, full silence. From a window above, Queen Vera watched them. Her hands were folded, her face calm. She had feared for her daughter. She had feared the humans. But now she had seen something true. Courage, kindness, honor. These things were not limited to one world. The Queen turned away and walked back to her chamber. In her heart, she knew something had begun, something new. The great hall of Naraya was full. Leaders, scholars, and guards stood in wide circles around the central stone floor. Lights above them glowed soft gold, and the walls reflected slow waves of color. At the center stood Queen Vera, tall and calm. With Tari at her right side, Milo stood on the other side of Tari. He wore a clean white robe given to him that morning. His hair was brushed back, and his face looked sharper now, though he still wore the same calm expression. The Queen raised her hand, and the hall became silent. "Today we gathered to hear a story," she said. "Not a tale from the past, but a truth from now. It is a story of fear, of loss, and of trust. It is the story of my daughter, Princess Tari, and the human who stood beside her." She turned to Milo. "Speak, if you are willing." Milo nodded. He took a step forward and looked at the many faces watching him. He cleared his throat, then began. "I was sent to your world to help. I'm not a warrior or a leader. I'm just an engineer. I fix things, but this time I didn't fix a machine. I was part of something more." He paused for a breath. "When the tower fell, I was trapped underground. I didn't know if anyone was alive. I thought I was alone. Then I heard her voice. It was soft, but strong. It gave me hope. I found Princess Tari, injured but alive. From that moment, we worked together. We didn't fight. We didn't blame. We helped each other. Every step we took was taken side by side." Tari stepped forward next. Her voice was steady and clear. "When I saw the world falling around me, I feared the end. But then I saw Milo. He didn't run. He didn't leave me. He stayed. He gave me food, rest, and time. He gave me strength. But more than that, he gave me trust. I knew he would not harm me. I knew he would treat me like an equal. Not as a princess, just as a person." She looked around the room. "This is what matters. Not power, not control, but respect. That is the true bridge between people." The hall remained silent. Then one of the elder scholars stepped forward. He wore deep blue robes and had silver lines on his skin. "What did you find underground?" he asked. Milo answered. "We found ancient tunnels, a chamber with living roots that held power. We used that power to send a signal. Without it, we would still be down there." Another voice spoke from behind. It was Lena, the human translator. "May I add something?" The Queen nodded. Lena stepped into the center. "This event will be remembered on Earth too. People there will ask what happened. They will ask what we learned. And we will say this: that trust is not a dream, that it can be real. That a human and a Narayan shared a path and returned as friends." The Queen walked forward again. Her voice carried strong across the hall. "In the dark, two young lives found the light. They brought back more than each other. They brought back proof that we are not so different. That peace is more than words. It is action. And today, I accept that truth." She turned to Milo. "You are not a guest anymore. You are now a friend of Naraya. You are welcome in our halls, our lands, and our hearts." The hall filled with warm sound. A chant began, soft but growing. It was a song of welcome, of thanks. The people of Naraya lifted their hands and sang the words that meant honor and peace. Tari smiled and looked at Milo. You didn't come to be a hero, but you became one in your own way. Milo gave a small laugh. I just followed the light when it was hard to see. Later that day, a new message was sent to Earth. It was shared between both worlds. The message told the story of what happened: the fall of the tower, the survival underground, the discovery of the ancient chamber, and the return of the princess with a human beside her. The leaders of Earth read the report with care. They sent a reply filled with respect and promise. More peaceful missions would follow, more learning, more sharing. But the true news was not about machines or towers. It was about two people, one human, one Narayan, and the path they walked together back at the palace. Milo sat with Tari in the garden again. The stars had begun to rise. I never thought a simple task could turn into something this big, Milo said. I looked at him. Big things start small, like a spark in a cave, or a seed in the ground. Milo nodded. Do you think others will follow our path? Maybe, Tari said, but they will need to walk with the same care, the same heart, not with pride, but with purpose. Milo leaned back and looked up at the stars. If even one person learns from what we did, it was worth it. Tari smiled. More than one will learn. I believe that. From a distance, Queen Vera watched them once more. This time, her face was not cold or still. It was calm, peaceful. The path her daughter had walked had changed many things, but most of all, it had opened a door. And now, others could walk through it too. The sun rose slowly over the tall sky trees of Naraya. Its soft light touched the rooftops of the palace, the stone roads below, and the peaceful river that flowed beside the garden. The world felt fresh, like it had been washed clean. Milo stood at the edge of the garden with his hands in his pockets. He looked out across the valley, where the forest spread far in every direction. Birds flew in gentle circles, calling to one another. Behind him, footsteps approached. Tari walked up beside him, wearing a long blue robe with silver edges. Her leg was stronger now. She no longer used a support. She stood tall beside Milo and smiled. You've become part of this place, she said. Milo looked at her. It doesn't feel strange anymore. When I first came here, I thought I was just passing through. But now, it feels like home. Tari nodded. That's because you gave something to this world, and you listened to it in return. They walked through the garden together. Flowers opened slowly with the light, and small soft-winged insects moved between the leaves. Tari stopped beside the stone wall where names of peacekeepers were written in glowing letters. New names had been added recently. One of them was Milo's. It's a good list, he said quietly. It's an honest one, Tari replied. You earned your place there, not just for helping me, but for showing my people something different, something better. Later that day, a large gathering took place at the main court. People came from across Naraya. Many humans also arrived from Earth by ship. It was a day of celebration, but also of promise. Queen Vera stood at the center of the court, surrounded by her council and the visitors. Her voice was clear and firm. Today, we take a step beyond fear. We take a step toward unity. The time of watching each other from a distance is ending. The time of walking forward together is beginning. She turned to Milo. You were a stranger once. Now you are a bridge between two worlds. You will not be forgotten. The humans from Earth stood together and clapped politely. Some were scientists, others were students and diplomats. All of them had read the reports. Many had come only after hearing the full story of Milo and Tari. Tari stepped forward next. We do not walk alone anymore. We share knowledge, but also heart. We learn not only from books, but from each other. We offer more than trade. We offer truth. She raised a small box made from clear crystal. Inside it was a light seed taken from the energy roots below the mountain. It glowed with a soft blue light. This is our gift, she said. It is not a weapon. It is not for control. It is a symbol. Let it remind us of the path we walked. In the light we found there, Milo stood beside her. He said only a few words. I didn't come here to change anything, but by listening, learning, and helping, something changed anyway. That gives me hope. The crowd clapped again, this time louder. The sound spread across the court and into the hills beyond. After the ceremony, Milo and Tari walked through the inner halls of the palace. Many people greeted them along the way. Some offered flowers. Others gave small notes or tokens. No one rushed. Everything was calm and kind. Tari turned to Milo. You still have a choice. You can stay or return to Earth. Milo looked at her and smiled. I'll visit Earth again. I want to share this story in my own words, but after that, I think I'd like to come back here. You will always have a place here, Tari said. They reached the sky balcony and looked out again. The stars were now beginning to rise. Naraya's twin moons were already climbing into the sky, side by side. It's strange, Milo said. I never thought I'd end up so far from home. But now, this place feels like it was waiting for me. Maybe it was, Tari said. Or maybe we were waiting for each other as the stars grew brighter. Small ships lifted off from nearby ports. They carried letters, new science tools, peaceful offers, and shared songs. It was the start of something greater than trade or talks. It was the start of trust. Queen Vera sat in her chamber and watched the sky. She had ruled for many seasons. She had seen both peace and war. But she had never seen a moment like this. Her daughter had returned, and with her came a new future. She wrote a message with her own hand. It would be placed in the records. Let this be remembered, that once, in the dark, two lives chose not to fear one another, and because of that choice, the light returned. Let this lesson live longer than stone. Let it guide all who come after. Back in the garden, Milo and Tari sat by the water once more. The sound of the river was soft and steady. Milo reached down and picked up a small glowing leaf that had fallen from a sky tree. He held it up to the moonlight. Back on Earth, we have a saying. He said, small things can grow into great things. Tari smiled. Then let this small thing grow, not just between us, but between all people. They sat in silence for a while, and in that silence, something strong was born. Not just friendship, but a future.